Most people spend years preparing for retirement financially. They run the numbers, they meet with advisors, they think carefully about when to claim Social Security and how to draw down their savings. And that preparation matters enormously. But there's another category of change that almost no one prepares for, and it has nothing to do with money. Over the years, I've worked with hundreds of people moving through this transition, and what I've seen again and again is that the biggest surprises in retirement aren't financial. They're personal, they're quiet, and they often catch even the most prepared retirees completely off guard. Today, I want to walk you through 5 specific things that tend to disappear from your life once you retire. Some of them feel like relief at first. Others feel like loss. But every single one of them, once you understand it, becomes something you can navigate with intention rather than just react to with confusion. And I'll tell you up front, the 5th one tends to be the deepest. It's the one that reshapes how you see yourself. So stay with me through all 5. The first thing that quietly leaves is the external structure that work gave your days. Think about what your average Tuesday looked like while you were working. You probably had a rough sense of when to wake up, where to be, what needed to get done, and roughly when your day would wind down. That rhythm wasn't something you consciously created, it was handed to you. And even when it felt exhausting or constraining, it was organizing your time in ways you may not have fully appreciated. One woman I worked with described her first weeks of retirement like this. She said, "I thought I'd feel free, and I did for a little while, but then I started to feel like I was just floating, like nothing was anchoring my day to anything." That's more common than most people admit. The early weeks of retirement often come with genuine joy and a sense of relief. No alarm clock, no commute to prepare for. But somewhere between month 1 and month 3, many retirees hit what I'd describe as a disorientation period. The days start blurring together. The freedom that felt like a gift starts feeling a little formless. Here's the reframe that I think is worth holding on to. You haven't lost structure. You've been handed the opportunity to build something better, a structure that serves you rather than your employer. That means building routines around what gives you energy, what keeps you physically well, what makes you feel connected and purposeful. Morning walks, weekly volunteer commitments, a standing lunch with a friend, a project you're working towards. The specifics don't matter as much as the intention behind them. The second thing that tends to quietly leave is the social world that work built around you. This one surprises a lot of people because they don't expect it to happen. You've known some of these colleagues for 10, 15, 20 years. You've eaten lunch with them, you've celebrated their promotions and supported them through hard seasons. And so there's a natural assumption that those relationships will simply continue after you retire. Often they don't. At least not in the same way. It's not conflict, it's not betrayal, it's something more neutral and more honest than that. Many work friendships are built on proximity and shared daily experience. When those two things are removed, the relationship often doesn't have the foundation to sustain itself naturally. The people you worked with are still in that world. They still have the meetings and the pressure and the shared language of that environment. You've moved into a different chapter, and the effort required to maintain the connection now has to come from somewhere more deliberate. A few things I'd suggest here. First, be honest about which relationships you genuinely want to invest in. Don't feel obligated to hold on to every connection from your working years, but do make real effort with the ones that matter. Second, understand that if your former colleagues are still working full schedules, they may simply not have the bandwidth to initiate. That doesn't mean they don't value you. It may just mean you need to show up more consistently than they can right now. And at the same time, begin building toward relationships with people who are living a similar kind of life as yours now. People who are also retired, who have time and curiosity and availability, and who are looking for the same kind of meaningful connection you are. The third thing is one that people often don't even realize they'll miss: The forward momentum that professional ambition created. When you're working, there's usually something ahead of you: a performance review, a promotion, a goal for the quarter, a project to close out. That forward facing orientation keeps you engaged in a way that's almost invisible until it's gone. I worked with a man who had spent 30 years building a business. He told me a few months into retirement, "I don't miss the stress at all, but I didn't realize how much of my mental energy was going toward things that, honestly, I didn't even care that much about. And now I need to figure out what I actually care about." That's a deeply honest and healthy reflection, but it also points to something important. The human brain is genuinely wired to find meaning in progress. Research consistently shows that people feel more satisfied when they're working toward goals that challenge them, not just when they're at rest. Retirement removes the externally imposed goals, which means you have to become intentional about creating your own. This doesn't need to look like work. It might be training for a long distance hike through a national park. It might be learning Spanish before a trip to South America. It might be restoring something with your hands, writing something you've always wanted to write, or mentoring someone who could benefit from what you know. The form is flexible. What matters is that there's something ahead of you that you care about making progress on. The fourth thing that disappears is one you'll almost certainly celebrate and then slowly adjust to. It's the constant urgency that defined your working life. When you're mid-career, there's often this ambient pressure running underneath everything. The next deliverable, the next deadline, the expectations you're trying to meet, the sense that time is always slightly short. That pressure can feel consuming, and when it lifts in retirement, the relief is real. But there's an adjustment on the other side of that relief that doesn't get talked about enough. When urgency disappears, so does the external engine that was driving your pace through life. And for people who've spent decades operating under that kind of pressure, moving through days slowly and without that edge can feel unsettling, even when it's objectively good. Give yourself permission to take time adjusting to a different pace. The transition from high urgency professional life to a quieter rhythm isn't instantaneous. And as you build the structure and the goals and the relationships we've been talking about, that sense of purposeful forward movement will return, just on your own terms this time. And now we arrive at the fifth thing, the one that, in my experience, tends to run the deepest. It's your professional identity. For most of your adult life, when someone asked who you are, your answer probably included what you do. That's not a flaw in your character, it's simply how our culture is structured. We introduce ourselves through our work. Our role gives other people and ourselves a quick way to understand our place in the world. A retired physician I worked with put it simply. He said, "For 30 years, I walked into every room as a doctor. That told people something about me immediately. And I realized that without it, I wasn't sure what I wanted them to know instead." That moment of uncertainty is actually an invitation, though it rarely feels that way at first. Retirement asks you to let go of being defined by what you produced and to step into something more foundational, being seen for who you actually are, your values, your relationships, the ways you contribute to the people around you. I often think about what I call the three anchors of a meaningful retirement. The first is genuine connection, not networked connection, but the kind that's honest and mutual and nourishing. The second is creative engagement, keeping your mind challenged, curious, and active. The third is contribution, continuing to offer something of value to the people and communities around you, even when that contribution looks nothing like your former career. Your identity after retirement won't come from a title, it will come from how you're living and who you're showing up for. Each of these five things, structure, Work friendships, professional ambition, urgency, and identity, they don't disappear because something has gone wrong. They disappear because you've moved into a different season of life, and every one of them creates space for something more deliberately chosen. The retirees I've seen thrive aren't the ones who held tightly to what was. They're the ones who got honest about what they actually wanted and then, quietly, thoughtfully, built towards it. If any part of what we discussed today made you pause and reflect, I'd encourage you to sit with that. Ask yourself which of these five you feel most unprepared for, and let that question guide a real conversation, whether with a trusted person in your life or a financial and life planning professional who takes the whole picture seriously. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.